All right, this is my poster on Now What, addressing trauma-informed services for child survivors. So my research topic about child survivors of human trafficking and evaluating services currently provided for them. I'll discuss what risk factors make children more vulnerable to trafficked, as well as propose methods to both decrease the vulnerabilities and increase the quality of trauma response. The current options for these survivors are not fully effective for everyone and generally lack a trauma multidisciplinary approach. The issue is important to aiding to the human trafficking narrative. This is a very real problem in America, and increasing the quality and quantity of support can extend to all children experiencing trauma, not just human trafficking. Into domestic servitude, and without the trained officer recognizing her case as a severe definition of human trafficking under the Trafficking Victim Protection 2000, Lily would have been deported and not received necessary supports. It's also has a pretty high ACE score, which you can see in the key terms in the top right. ACE scores relate to childhood experiences from birth to age 18. Kaiser developed this in the late 90s, and scores were 1, 10 being really extreme. Generally, methodology, though, I focused primarily on scholarly resources that included hard true sample sizes, much like I would for psychology research in my major. I also looked into research accredited, including government agencies and NGOs. From what I found, there are some crucial risk factors, some children at greater risk of being trafficked than others. Some of these resources cited included prior sexual abuse, which was boys at an 8 times greater and girls at a 2.5 greater being trafficked. Higher ACE scores, history of foster care, low self-esteem can also be at greater risk. The ACE score element also includes a multitude of factors, not just including abuse, but mental health and substance abuse in the family, incarceration, divorce, death in the family. So now you may be asking, what services are currently in place to keep these vulnerable children out of being, or better yet, helping these child survivors heal? Unfortunately, while such services exist, there is research that suggests that the current services are both not comprehensive enough, but also not widespread in all communities, because trafficking doesn't just happen in the cities or in bad neighborhoods, but everywhere. Generally, shelters are not well equipped for the fragile needs of children, which can be highlighted. In 2007, there were only 5 shelters to address the needs of girls who had been sex trafficked. There were no mentions aimed to help LGBTQ youth, boys who had been sex trafficked, or labor trafficking survivors. So clearly there's there, which also feeds into the current human trafficking narrative. I wanted to also into the realm of multidisciplinary and trauma responsive supports. You can see in the key terms section, right again, trauma informed allows for awareness of the existence of trauma, which is also very important. Trauma responsive goes a bit deeper to rework the environment so it addresses all the needs of the traumatized. Some elements of cognitive behavioral therapy and case management have been able to use this, and all services have. We generally know from the literature that using trauma responsive lenses makes us feel more prepared to re-enter the outside world with support and confidence. This is also where the multidisciplinary approach comes in, because therapy and trauma responsive shelters alone cannot fix the problem of child trafficking. Multidisciplinary approaches must encompass all fields that work with the including lawmakers, law enforcement, healthcare providers, teachers, social workers, foster care, and more. This is why I propose a more comprehensive multidisciplinary all these professions. If you saw back on the major findings section, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has trained over 300,000 people, which is fantastic. But to put into perspective, there are about 1 million police officers and 3 million teachers in America involved. So clearly not everyone is being trained. And we need this, so it's extremely beneficial and needs to be more widespread and easily accessible. No one group can tackle human trafficking alone, but with the knowledge comes power. Many professionals who do not know what to look for with trafficking cases can now understand. So in conclusion, I just wanted to think back on the case of Lily from the beginning of this presentation. Receive the necessary reports. If not for the ICE officer trained in identifying cases of human trafficking, who noticed that maybe this wasn't just a normal case of abuse, maybe she would have been caught quicker support there. So think about the legislative system, which can provide better protection for other undocumented like Lily instead of just deportation. These cases touch on so many sectors of life, and it's our duty as such professionals to be aware and prepared to support these cases of care for these children.